So welcome to Coleraine. Now in Gaelic, the name of Coleraine means the nook of the ferns, because when St Patrick came here, the local chieftain granted him some land and it was covered in ferns. Now the church behind me is named after St Patrick, and it's the Church of Ireland. Now St Patrick's Church, when they were doing renovations back in 1994, they discovered a body below it. Now it's a mystery as to how the body got there, but it's known that back in the 10th century, this area was raided by Vikings. And one of the people who was killed by the Vikings was an abbot, so possibly it was his body. Now, Coleraine has a very long history associated with another group called the Honourable the Irish Society. Now, they are founded and remain in London and own fishing rights, and they own very much parts of the industry around here. And they were granted that when, back in the 17th century, King James I, or James VI of Scotland, granted land to the London companies and guilds. They were given huge portions of land and told to come and settle and to plant people here. And they brought over people from England and then brought over lots and lots of people from Scotland. And they became known as the Scots-Irish. Many of whom left here, went to America, and well, in many ways founded lots and lots of the American institutions that we know today. So I'm here with one of the most famous people to come from Coleraine, a Celtic football legend, Bertie Peacock, who made over 300 appearances for the club. He would go on to manage Northern Ireland and gave George Best his first international start. Now, when Bertie was playing for Northern Ireland, they actually reached the last 8 of the World Cup, and he played alongside such legends as Harry Gregg from Manchester United and Danny Blanchflower from Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Bertie is one of a number of famous people who came from Coleraine. One who's probably a little bit, not necessarily forgotten, but maybe forgotten a little bit around these parts, is a man called Hercules Mulligan, a wonderful name, who was a tailor in New York. He was born in Coleraine and he moved over in the 18th century. And he was a dresser, a tailor, who was also a spy for George Washington. And when he was measuring out people from the British Crown forces, he overheard things. And he heard that they were going to capture General Washington. He went, alerted Washington, and the rest's history. Another a bit more dark character from around these parts was a man called John Bodkin Adams. He was born in Randallstown, which is a bit further south from here, and he trained here as a doctor. He went to Queen's University, where he finished his education, and then moved to Sussex, where he practiced as a GP in Eastbourne. Now, back in the 1950s, Dr. Adams was tried for murder. He was found not guilty, but he got struck off for malpractice, regained his medical practitioner's licence, and when he died in the 1980s, he was still receiving legacies from people who had been patients, and he was worth about £500,000. Later evidence was found that proved he probably bumped off over 130 people. Lots of famous people have come from Coleraine, and that's just a few. Now, Coleraine was granted a charter back in 1613 by King James, and lots of people came over and came to live as part of the plantation of Ulster. But you can't come to Coleraine and not mention the river that cuts right through the heart of the town. And this was really the passageway for people to then further leave here and head to pastures new, so Canada, US and Australia. Now, this river is the longest river in Northern Ireland. It rises in the Mourne Mountains in County Down, comes through Lough Neagh, which is the largest by area lake in the UK and the British Isles. Now, it comes through there and heads out to sea, and it pumps out about 93 cubic metres of water per second. Now, this bridge behind me is a replacement for a much earlier bridge that was built by a man called John de Courcy, who was known as the Prince of Ulster. And he had come here in the 13th century and built a small wooden bridge across the river. Now, Coleraine is a port town, and over the years it's exported salmon, linen, wood, but mostly exported people. So here we are in Christie Park, named after a long-serving council member. It's a little bit of a haven down beside the River Bann, and it's part of the Bann Greenway, where you can cycle along or walk along the river for a very, very long period of time. Now, you'll see the big insect behind me. This is a dragonfly, which there's many of species of in the River Bann, and there's lots of wildlife. There's lots of swans and ducks and avian, and also aquatic life as well. So if you find yourself in Coleraine, come and walk down this way and you'll see all of this heading down, and you'll be retracing the footsteps of some of the people who left. Well, I'm going to wrap it up now. That's me finished here in Coleraine, and I hope to see you down here sometime in the near future.